everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. I really, really appreciate it. This is a interesting way to present what I think many of us here feel is an important part of our lives, water. But not just water, because water isn't water the same way that food isn't food. So what does living, structured water imbued with deep inner earth energies mean to the human species right now? I'm going to tell you what it means to me. I'm going to tell you why it's important to me. I'm going to lead you guys on a journey, a story to help you understand where I'm coming from and why I represent this particular water. So as a young child, I would look up into the trees and I would stare at the tree line where the tree line met the sky. And as I would stare there, everything would get brighter and brighter and brighter until I couldn't see what was there in front of me. And as it got brighter and brighter and brighter, I realized that what I was seeing light up wasn't the world around me. It was the world inside of me, literally getting brighter and brighter. And the longer that I would sit in this space and dwell with this and contemplate it, even as a young child that had no developed intellect, I knew that something profound was taking place in my ability to perceive reality. And so what I knew was that this energy that was allowing everything to go white around me was my soul. It was literally the energy that animates my brain and body and allowed me to perceive through this human form. It's causing my heart to beat, my lungs to breathe. It's causing the blood to flow through my body. It allowed me in my little tiny human form to experience the miracle of life, but not just as myself alone, attached to something way greater than even I. And so as I would dwell in this space, my awareness would get deeper and deeper into it, until suddenly even this form wasn't there. But what was there was pure consciousness. It was literally an awakened, living state of awareness, in tune and in harmony with the natural world below my feet and all around in the universe above and below me. As a young child, I knew this is what mattered most, and I dwelled in that space for many years, until I realized that when I tried to communicate what I was experiencing to those around me, most of them didn't really get it, didn't really understand. But I would try harder to explain, really try harder to help them understand. They still didn't get it. This caused a little bit of a conundrum in me. And so, as I grew older, and I saw more and more of the world, I knew that I didn't feel like I fit into the world as I perceived it. The cars, the trucks, the buildings, the death, fire, pain, destruction, chaos, disorder, the way industry has polluted our planet, has polluted our food, even as a young child, I knew that there was something way greater and way more real. I just knew it. Despite what anybody said, that was the one thing that I held on to. So as my life was presented to me, you're going to go to college, you're going to get married, you're going to get a job, you're going to have a career, you're going to do this, okay, if that's what you guys want me to do, if that's what the world wants me to do, then I'll do it, no problem. But I could see through it, and I knew that that was not going to be the path that I walked. And so instead of finishing high school, instead of even finishing my second year of high school, I left. I left school, I left home, and instead of going into the streets to try to survive, I did the opposite. I went deep into the woods, and I suffered. I learned the hard tried to skill my hand of how to live off the land and eat fish and hunt anything I could, grow food, picking wild animals. And I worked so hard at it, all the while contemplating why the world appeared to be the way it seems. One thing stood out above and beyond all others during that experience. And that was when I found a spring bubbling up through the earth. And it's just something about it. I couldn't figure it out, but walking through the woods, suddenly there's just this sandy bar. No streams, nothing around it, just literally a big thing of sand with water bubbling up through it. Just seeing that water bubble through affected me so deeply. Because where's it coming from? Where's the source? There's no river laying into it. There's no stream running into it. What is it? And then I remember going up to it, getting really close, and then just drinking that water directly from that stream. And literally, when I did that, an electrical charge, not even joking, a real electrical charge just went through my body. Because water does generate weak electrical charge when it hits against certain surfaces and substances. That was it. That's all I needed to know about the world. And there, I met somebody who intrigued me. A person, a man, wasn't much older than me, but I saw him. He looked Native American. There was something fierce yet calm, determined yet relaxed. There was something about him that just inspired me. I knew he knew something about the state of the world that I was experiencing, but I didn't know what. And so bit by bit, I began to form a friendship with him and question him. And I needed to know why he was the way he was. This was a person unaffected by the chaos that seemed to exist in our human world. This was a person who could just sit for hours and hours and hours just staring into nothingness, yet seemed to be completely aware of exactly what was taking place. And I was intrigued because it reminded me of that state that I was so in touch with as a young child. That began a really interesting phase where for months and years I began questioning him and talking to him and asking him, what is it? What do you know about reality? Why do you feel so good? What makes you think that you can just sit here and be at peace with the entire world when there's so much devastation going on? And he'd often just smile, or he'd say things in parables or some kind of weird expression that kind of hinted a little tiny bit at what he meant, but I didn't really get it, didn't really understand it. So I would still persist, I would still ask him, and he would reveal very little. In my frustration, I would just get on my bicycle, or I would walk miles and miles into nowhere, and I would start screaming at the earth, screaming at the sky, literally something to the tune of, tell me why or let me die. I need to know who I am, I need to know why I exist in this world, and I need to know what my purpose is, otherwise I have no interest in going on like this. I don't know what it was in me, but it was that strong. I just did it constantly, daily. It was a mantra, it was an affirmation, and it was hardcore because it brought me through things that I could have never imagined that I would have to experience to get to what I've always known. Interestingly, one of these times after being out in the woods and coming back, seeing my friend just sitting there, blissed out as always, seemed to know, he absolutely knew every single thing that I was thinking about while I was away that day. And I couldn't understand how he knew my exact thoughts. Did you follow me? Were you behind me? Were you listening to me? I wasn't speaking out loud. How did you know my thoughts? He just laughed and laughed and laughed. And that was it. And I was frustrated. What am I doing here? I need to go back into the world. I need to get away from this. This is crazy. But you know what? That winter, living in a shed that literally had no running water, no electricity, it didn't even have any insulation on it. The winter winds in Maine just whipping, literally whipping right through the building. The snows were so deep. There was nothing to do but stand next to the wood stove that was glowing, literally glowing red hot. And I'd be right on top of this thing just trying to get warm, and the backside of me would get so cold that I'd have to turn around just so that could get warm. And I did this all winter long while a dog dish of water underneath it was frozen solid. You know what? I had a resolution, something just resolved inside of me, and I just didn't care anymore about trying to seek my inner truth or why I existed, my purpose. None of that mattered anymore. And that's when things began to happen. While digging in a garden that very summer, after just late spring, after the snows had melted, it felt like I was having a heart attack. Literally felt like I was having a heart attack. And I started calling out to my friend, oh my God, bro, come help me. My God, what is happening? Like, something's wrong. He just walked off. He didn't care. Paid no mind, paid no attention. It just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And holy crap, I am having a heart attack and I'm going to die right here on this piece of land. And as I'm going out of my body, everything around me lights up. No drugs, by the way. This is a drug-free experience. And as I'm looking, it's getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. I can literally see the energy of the trees, the plants, any single thing that was around there lit up and became alive and was accusing me of all the wrongdoing and everything that's been happening in the world, despite my protests. Yeah, it was you. You did it. You screwed this whole place up. You're dying. You're going to hell. I can't even tell you what it, I'm not going to replicate it because I'd be screaming at the top of my lungs and it would be a pretty sight to hear. But I'll tell you what, it was definitely witnessing somebody at the edge of their very existence, begging and clinging on to the dear life that is in their being. But you know what? For all my protests and for all my clinging and for all of my trying to hold on to it, it wasn't enough. And slowly, bit by bit, every single bit of this energy that animates my brain and body, that allows me to believe I'm having a human experience, just dissipated, almost at a subatomic level, like smoke burning off the end of a cigarette just up into the atmosphere. And as every single bit of everything that I ever believed I was ended right there on the spot, so began a journey of something completely different. An involuntary process that was no longer me per se, though there were elements of what I once was in it. Seemingly, I was in a cosmic court. I was in some kind of grand cosmic accounting system where everything that I had ever thought about who I was or what I believed this life to be had been accounted for and documented, and literally just the most perfect filing system there is. Every single breath, every thought, every action, every time I looked at someone the right way or the wrong way, anytime I ever loved somebody or hurt somebody, anytime I ate some food or drank some water, every single thing that had ever happened was laid out from beginning to that very moment for me to witness in all of its beauty and disgust. Everything, the best and worst of it all. This big balancing act, trying to just find itself. And again, in this cosmic court, a part of me protested. Whatever that part of me was, the soul, the consciousness, there's no words to even describe what remained. But it protested. It was not going to allow whatever judgment was taking place for it to be the judgment that lasts. But again, my protest fell on deaf ears. And in this space, the eyes of the universe, eyes, when I say eyes, I'm talking a trillion eyes, I'm talking infinite eyes of everyone, it seemed like everyone and everything that had ever existed were all right there just staring at little me, who was about this big, witnessing all this. This couldn't be happening. This isn't real. There's no way. And that's when the spiral started. It's like spirals. Thing where it's just spiraling. Like when you flush the toilet and it just spirals down the toilet. That's what it felt like was happening to me. My life force, this energy that I was being flushed down the toilet and just going to a place that I didn't want it to be. Couldn't accept that. This part of me could not accept it. So then, it got stronger. It said, oh, you can't accept it? All right, you're going to go even deeper. And the more it would push, the deeper I would go, but still the stronger my resolve would be in the midst of all that. Until I wasn't going to allow the demons, the evil, all the different things that I perceived them to be, to get the best of what little bit was left of me. There's no way. I was not going to let it happen. I was determined that whatever it was that I was going through, that it was only temporary and that it would pass, and that what was on the other side of it was going to bring something that I knew I was really there for. And then I opened up my eyes in this body. What the fuck, really? It's really just how it but it was crazy. I came back and everything's there. The trees, everything's still accusatory. Everything's still giving me a hard time, but at least I'm alive, so I got something to work with. And I'm walking around, I'm stumbling like I'm drunk out of my mind. Drunk beyond even drunk. I can hardly stand, just dizzy to the point of universes spiraling in and out and around me everywhere. And I look for my friend, I call out for him, Damien, help, bro, where are you, please? Nothing. And as I walk, I get closer to this shed that was set up on this farm. And there he is. He's just sitting there in a chair. A lot like this. His legs were crossed on my. He's just sitting there in a really peaceful, blissed out place. Things flying all around him. All kinds of different things that I had no definition for, no way to explain. And I went down on I went right to his knees, to his feet, and I begged him to please tell me what was going on. And he wouldn't. Then I just kept begging and begging and begging and telling him, please, you have to tell me what this is and why I'm here. And he still didn't, but something else did. And while I could hear it around me, I more could feel it inside of me. And though it was speaking to me in a way that I understood, it wasn't doing so in English. It wasn't doing it in this form of communication. However, it was communicating very directly to me. And and said, you know what this is. I don't know what this is. I have no idea. I was in denial. I was the victim. I didn't want to know what it was. But then it happened again. And at that point, I was ready to acknowledge it. I was ready to no longer be a victim. And I said to myself, I do know what this is. And when I said that, everything that I had perceived, all the evil, all the struggle, the cosmic court, the one judging me, all of that disappeared completely. And there was nothing left but the exact reversal of all that into a way that was ecstatic. It was pure love beyond any description of love that I could ever describe or feel. The greatest love I've ever felt for anybody or anything in my life was only the beginning, the very, very beginning of what was suddenly happening. The only thing I can liken it to is, I tell people, it's the best feeling you've ever felt multiplied by infinity. If that says it. It was literally that feeling. It was like all that there ever was this great form of love and care and compassion that so wants me in what I was at that point to so deeply, to the very core, to the subatomic level of my being, to understand that that's what I am. That's what my purpose here is. And if I'm doing anything that is out of alignment with it, it will just dissolve it. It'll make it go away as long as I acknowledge that's what I am. I can't even tell you, this just went on and on and on. And I explored these states and realms, and it went into forever. Answers to questions that I never even had ever asked just became self-evident. They became etched upon the very fabric of my perceptive awareness in my human form. And after dwelling in that state, the ego comes. Despite how much I thought I knew, or what I thought this world was, suddenly I'm a prophet. Or at least I wanted to believe I was. Suddenly I was somebody that had such a deep understanding of reality that if I could only bring that reality out into the world, then the world would be ready for it. Because if they knew their true nature, what they truly were, they wouldn't want to hurt anybody or anything in any way ever again. You can't. It's just impossible. Why would you do it? Because you know that it's a part of you. But when you can experience that firsthand, it's a different story altogether. But I learned a hard lesson trying to come out in the world and talk about these things and express it to people and really help them understand that. And the lesson I learned, which was actually over 20 years ago now when this all took place, is that people didn't want to hear about that. Certainly not in the woods in northern Maine, right? Maybe they did other places, but up there they didn't want to hear about it. And again, this struggle started to come up in me. Like, I just gave 4 years of my life to living in the tundra and suffering, but finding exactly what I was looking for times infinity. How could they not want to know this? Isn't it that important that the world gets this now? I thought it was common sense. But it created more of a complication in me because I was not the person that I was before that. I was lit up. I was able to perceive and be aware of things that were really inhibiting my ability to function in the world. When you can look at somebody and you can see the essence of who and what they truly are and literally feel their own inner turmoil, their own inner complications, to see the struggle that they, in their very being, have been going through for countless lifetimes. It's kind of difficult for me to just go around and be in the presence of people and want to and see this stuff and really try to help them understand that you can resolve this. This is, you got it. I'm telling you, it's totally within your reach to do this. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm not any different than anybody. We all have this. And some would be intrigued for a second, but it wouldn't last. It would just fade out. So then my inner turmoil, why do I know these things? Why am I aware of this if no one else cares for it? And a better question is, what's going to blunt my ability to be hyper aware of all these things so that I can live in the world and function, because I'm done with the woods. I can't take it anymore. It's just, no, all set. And then I discovered drugs. Hard drugs. Brutal, dark drugs. However, all the drugs that I discovered and found, a lot of them were great. You know, they showed you a window into something you were longing to see and to be aware of. But then the window disappeared and you were just left with you again. But I didn't care about any of those drugs. I wanted the drugs that were going to numb my entire perception of self into oblivion, so I could forget all about being super conscious or enlightened or aware or whatever you call that. And heroin, that did the trick. It really, really, really did the trick. Suddenly, I was human. It wasn't this light bulb walking around, freak of the week, that everybody was like, oh my God, he's coming, get out of here, go, this guy's out of his mind. I was just me. I could just talk. Well, after nodding out anyway. But after coming back, after being high, I could just be me. I could talk to people, I could communicate, I could be in the world. I could meet women. There weren't women in the woods where I was. There wasn't anything. It was just survival. But as anybody who has ever been an addict or known an addict or been in the family or a friend or whatever, any relation to an addict knows, these situations usually do not get better. And they tend to get a lot worse if they ever get better. Why did I subject myself to that? Why, living in this hyper-aware state, literally supported and loved by the forces of the universe, why would I ever want to subject myself to something like that, as dirty and disgusting and terrible as that? I had to do it because I had to really understand what it is that we are going through as a species at the darkest level. I had to understand why we humans suffer in the darkest of ways in order for me to be able to understand what I was up against moving forward. So this went on for 3 years, and then I finally decided that I was going to get clean. And I kicked it cold turkey. I didn't do anything, I didn't get help, I just kicked. I was supported by a few friends, but it was brutal. And it went on for months and months and months before I finally got right. So the renewed zest for life, with a degree of health finally back in my hands, I was ready to go out and be in the world. I started doing yoga classes and meditation classes, and I really found out that I was good at sales and business. I loved small business. I loved the ethics and the passion of what small business represented in this world. And I knew that I was going to do something in that. Yet I was a little bit too materialistic in my views of it. I didn't want to go into the deep psycho-spiritual stuff that I already thought, because I did not see how So I built a company that built a bunch of companies actually. They're all little tiny family produced companies that are based on health. A hemp lip balm company made all kinds of different body oil products, massage products, things like that. Then I got passionate about eating a raw food diet, a vegan raw food diet. Went 100% raw food, just ate nothing but that. Felt amazing. It was literally healing a lot of the scars, a lot of the issues that I had self-inflicted. And it had brought me back closer together with my parents, my family who had long been drifted from, torn apart. And in doing that, my brother and I formed another company called Living Nuts, a sprouted, certified organic nut company. And it took off. I mean, it just completely took off, and it was great. We were like, yes, this is perfect, it's wonderful. And we're getting accolades from people all over the world and just really loving our idea, our concepts. But you know what? It wasn't enough. My entrepreneurial mind is always thinking, okay, well, great, this structure is doing great. I need more. I want to create more things. I'm a builder. I want to build structures that represent greater vision and greater integrity. And I want to transform the world through business. Interestingly, the medical marijuana movement had been growing, developing, taking place, and really starting to come into its own. And while it was something that I certainly wasn't opposed to, I was once very much into it, it was something that, to me, I saw as an opportunity, though I didn't necessarily like that people would make a living by intoxicants, by getting high. You know, I knew the potential of it to help people was phenomenal because I'd seen it. But I knew part of the industry was driven by this desire to just get out of it, which is fine, to each their own. We're all at different points in our life. At that point in my life, I didn't want to, but I saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity to make a lot of money. And so I did. Started making a lot of money, was selling a lot of pot, and then I got arrested. Had a whole bunch of federal agents come running up to me, guns out of nowhere, right to my head, get down on the ground, just cuffed, shackled, dragged into a car, whatever you call a paddy wagon. And holy crap, is this really me? The crazy thing about it is, as I was driving up to get the money that my friend owed me, who had disappeared for months, I saw the whole thing happen. I literally saw the entire thing happen. And I just kept saying, I was like, no way, there's no way. But I was so paranoid, I was like, oh, what if? It's like, no, it's not. It was. It certainly was. So at that point, my world was just ruined. Like, what did I do? Why would I do this? I'm smarter than this. I didn't need to be doing this. What? But you know, interestingly, before I got arrested, I was so involved in the world. I was so active. I was thinking and doing so many things, supporting so many other projects, and really having this vision to make everything work, that it was kind of driving me crazy. It was too much. And I kept speaking out, literally to the universe, like I used to do when I was in the woods, only way more mild. And I would say, if I could only just have a year or two, or months, if I could just have time out of the world and go to the Himalayas or go to a meditation retreat, this romanticized, idealized notion of what we think it means to get away from society and connect to our inner self. I just kept saying, if only I could just have that time to get a hold of myself and be in that place, then everything that I would be doing now would be taken up a trillion notches because I would be living in harmony with everything I'd left behind, in contrast with everything I had learned by being alone. So I had a brief thought as I was getting hauled away in the paddy wagon, got locked into the county jail. And my thought was, what if this is my meditation retreat in the Himalayas? It was very brief. It didn't last long. All the commotion and the abuse. When you're treated like a bad dog, like a bruised up, beaten up bad dog, you tend to be in a very reactive state for a bit. So I was given a 5-year sentence in federal prison, which for me at the time was devastating. That was after I had lost my life savings. I had embarrassed everybody in all my companies, my families, everybody who loved me and trusted me were just like, oh my God, your name is all over the internet, you're a crime, what were you doing? What can I say? I'm an overzealous entrepreneur. I just gotta do something. But when I got to federal prison, despite all the guys fighting and yelling and screaming and playing cards and arguing over who gets to control the remote control for the TV, by who has bigger muscles or who can speak louder, who can yell louder, who's in control of this group, despite listening to all these people and their incessant madness and their ramblings, I said, you know what can I do? What can I do? What do I have available to me in this situation that is going to allow me to improve myself and connect to something, a real purpose? The thing I've been seeking and looking to develop my entire life. What can I do here? So my first thought was, I'm gonna write my entire life story from birth till that moment in detail. I'm going to write every single thing that I can think about. I'm going to look for patterns of thought, of behavior, of whatever that can either set me free or that have been holding me back or whatever. And sure enough, right away when I first started writing this thing out, I immediately, from a really, really young time in my life, identified these patterns that were literally holding me back. And it was like, oh my God. I could have so easily not been subjected to these beliefs and these ideas and everything, but I just chose to ignore it because at the time I didn't really know better. Could have very easily, but I just didn't. It took me going through the dumpster a few times before I was able to be discerning and wise enough. Despite the distraction, the yelling, the screaming, she said, you know what? I'm going to focus my awareness on the very basics of what I have. And the very basics at that point were my heart, my lungs breathing, blood flowing through my veins. The fact that I could perceive through these eyes and hear through these ears, and I have this human form. I could just sit with this and just feel it and just let it be exactly what it is. Then what else am I going to do? So I did that, and I just sat there. And it went on for weeks and months, and I did it every single day. And sometimes it was so hard because I'm like, what am I doing? Like, nothing's happening. What happened to everything I once knew? I know it's there. Did I really block it out? Did I blunt it that badly that it's not coming back? But I stayed the course, and I committed. Prioritized disciplinary commitment. I was committed to what I recognized the priority being, which was connecting to some sort of peace that was going to help me transcend this rough environment that I perceived myself being. And I just realized that, oh my God. It is a miracle that I am alive in this body at all. And that's all I need. To be grateful for that is the only thing I need. And I was so beyond grateful for that. Even in there. And I just kept developing that gratitude, that love for my physical body. And this, it's mostly invisible for a lot of people. It's visible for me and visible for many others. But grateful for this miraculous life force that is literally animating not only my only being, but every single thing around us. Everything is consciousness. The entire universe is alive with perception. It's just how perceptive of it are we to be able to acknowledge. And interestingly, a lot of the guys in there could not figure me out at all. A lot of inner city people, a lot of people who were just, they'd look at me and just laugh. Guys that would eat me up. You can't ask me questions. Well, how can you sit there all day? How can you just be this peaceful thing? Like there's people yelling and screaming and fighting. And I was like, look, are any of these distractions that are worth you giving your attention to? And you'd be like, I guess you're right, man. I guess it ain't. I was like, yes, exactly. That's what the realization I came to. It's not worth it. So what is worth giving your attention to? The miracle of life that exists inside of you is the only thing that is real. It's the only thing that was ever real, and it's the only thing that will forever be real. This body, this perception of this world is a blip in the eyes of the universe. It's so fleeting, it's so short-lived. But this miracle of life will persist, and it will grow, and it will develop, and it wants to become more self-aware through us. It's just to the degree that we're willing to acknowledge that is to the degree where we're able to come into our own power, and to be empowered, or to be a victim. A lot of these guys are the biggest victims on the planet, and rightfully so at face value. If you're born in an inner city and you go to prison for these drug laws that are really, they're made to bring people of lower class into these prisons to use them as slaves. Literally, it's modern day slavery. Let's call it what it is. These guys are the biggest victims, but do you have to be? They acknowledge it. They're like, no, I don't have to be. I said, exactly. You don't have to be. You can be empowered. And all you have to do is a choice right now between good and what isn't good. Your attitude is going to determine everything. Are you grateful that you get to exist in this body? I guess. Well, you better stop guessing. Own it. Be it. Get to that point where you're so grateful that you exist in this body that you're going to take that out and you're going to make a difference in this world. Because you can. That's what you're here to do. Then they all started coming. They would sit around and listen. We would talk, and I would give these talks daily, and it encouraged all of them. And they all had their own vision and idea of how they were going to make the world a better place when they were released from this. So, when I was released from federal prison in 2014, I wasn't sure what opportunity was going to present itself, but I was going to be very mindful of whatever opportunities did. It's amazing, you going through getting arrested, how you sense going through something as rough as that, you really find out who your friends are, your true friends. And fortunately for me, I still had a tremendous amount of friends who were so happy to welcome me back out of my deep hibernation and into the world. And one of them was a friend who I knew had done something miraculous. He discovered a spring in the woods of Maine, literally a spring that was unlike any other spring I had ever experienced in my entire life. I've traveled around the globe, I've had a passion for water, for hot springs, and I really always tried to seek out what is the greatest source of water. Where is there water that's really just so naturally pure that you can drink it directly out of the ground and it imbues your body with a living, structured essence that is inherent in all things that are in alignment with the natural world. And of all the waters I've had around the world and all the springs I've seen, there's been some that have been amazing and good, but there's always been things about them that this one's too high in minerals, or this one's too low in minerals, or this one's too acidic, or this one's way too alkaline, or whatever. This one's too close to that, or too far from this, and there's just been always different things, except for this one spring, which was in my home state of Maine. He found this source of water that is literally almost 1,000 feet above sea level. And for anybody that knows a lot about springs and studies, most springs are down really low. For these aquifers to be strong enough to push water up to the Earth's surface, it takes pressure. It takes, a substantial amount of pressure or a high water table or something. So the fact that this water was bubbling up to the Earth's surface at almost 1,000 feet above sea level in such a prolific quantity was unlike anything I'd ever seen. When you walk up to this spring, which is, it's probably like from the edge of this stage to where the first row of these chairs are, maybe a little bit bigger, and you put this beautiful casing, stainless steel casing around it to protect it. But when you open it up and you look into that spring, it's so amazing. It's this feeling, this awe of seeing bubbles just coming up through the sand and the bubbles that come to the Earth's surface. This is water and air that has been underground for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So you're breathing this in. It's water that literally gives you an electrical charge when you drink it. And so my brother was with me and he's looking in the spring and I can just see it. The wheels are turning. He's looking and he's like, this makes me feel the exact same way when I look up into the stars at night and consider and contemplate why I exist. I was like, yeah, yes, that's great. That's exactly how it makes me feel too. So, my friend literally saved this spring. All these big multinational corporations have been coming up there. People know about it. They knew it was there. They all wanted to get it. And if anybody's ever looked at some of that stuff, namely the bottled water industry, which is one of the biggest scams on our planet right now. It's controlled by mega companies, massive multinational conglomerates who care about one thing, the bottom line. It's easy to work at a corporation and make decisions. You don't have to be human. You don't have to have empathy. You gotta look out for the life of the corporation. And that's what these guys do. Now, there are humanitarians. There are people working within those systems who are helping to influence it and bring about change. But typically, up till this point, the way business has functioned in our world has clearly, to anybody who's paying attention, caused catastrophic near catastrophic. It's not a far more. But it's caused tremendous destruction in the world around us. And it's okay. It's not, I mean, it's terrible, it's all these things, but it's okay because from a bigger perspective, from a more objective perspective, this symptom of not caring about our planet, our children, anything but money, is a result of individual human beings being so disconnected from the miracle of life that is in each and every one of them. And that miracle of life that is in each and every one of them is way more powerful and way stronger than any decisions any of them have ever made in the entire history of this planet. So can we change the world? Yes. Absolutely. How do we change the world? We have to do the real work. The real work is changing ourselves. And what I mean is what I've been saying this whole time. When you work relentlessly to dissolve any barriers that inhibit your ability to acknowledge this miracle of life inside of you, then bit by bit, you become more grateful. You become more in tune with reality. And let's get real for a second. Society is not reality. Going to your jobs for 9 to 5 every day is not reality. It's a small subset, illusory. It's so short-lived and it's so small. Yet, the world's backwards. It seems like it's all that there is. It's not. It's one little tiny piece of something that is so vast and so infinite and has been going on forever. Special acknowledgement. When an individual decides they're fed up with the way things appear to be, and they work to rewire the perspective of self and reality, they slowly but eventually and definitively will come into contact with this miracle of life that is animating their being. And when they do that, and they begin to train their conscious mind to be aware of what it is and how it communicates with them, solutions to all the problems that we face as a species become self-evident. Like spring water bubbling to the Earth's surface, these solutions begin to reveal themselves. But it's up to individuals to take responsibility to do this. So when I look at the world, I see that a major restructuring is in the midst of taking place. And the best way to ensure a more sustainable world, a world that's going to be in alignment with these natural laws of the earth and the sky and the cosmos, is to create business structures that are not based on the bottom line, but based on the triple bottom line, which is people, planet, and profit. It's not perfect, but you know what? We gotta work within the systems in place, no matter how imperfect they may be, to begin to form a better way. So small business owners who see this issue, who are passionate about it, these are the ones who have to take steps to change the world. But if those people begin to realize that the real restructuring is taking place at a subatomic level, at a biophysical level, and what I'm talking about when I say restructuring, it's literally restructuring the bio-waters of your very body. Because like a crystal, which all the minerals that form a crystal or a rock are in our body, like water, which is a living liquid crystal. Water is the most anomalous, miraculous substance that exists on this planet. It literally, they say that space and the human mind are the final frontiers in science. Water is one of the final frontiers because it is so miraculous. We know it's affected by consciousness. We know that it literally becomes part of wherever it is coming from. And it has memory. Whatever you place in it, or whatever it is sitting in, is imbued into you. So the restructuring is choosing to become aware of this higher perspective, incorporating it into your very physical being, and being wise enough, being discerning enough to take that with us in this 9-to-5 world. Just because we're working the world doesn't mean that we have to get lost and crazy by it, or you can literally hold this love that you have for life into the world, and into your job, and you can choose, you can train yourself to be non-reactive to those who have lost their own equilibrium. So in my state, my purified state, with my ability to be aware of how I personally am going to positively effectuate the world, I knew that this spring that my friend had, that he had put his heart and soul and dumped massive amounts of money into, that just wasn't working. After 13 years, he could not get it to work. We know all the chemical testing, everything has validated that there is not a source of water like this anywhere, certainly in this country, that is that naturally pure, free of tritium. It's free of radioactive isotopes, which, just a little background on that, sadly, radioactive isotopes from man-made devices are everywhere. Since the first atomic bombs were let off in the Bikini Atoll Islands, this cloud of tritium and all these other radioactive isotopes circumnavigated the globe via the stratosphere and have soaked into all the land, all the food, all the groundwater. They're everywhere. And of course, there's been tremendous other nuclear meltdowns and everything, in addition to the factories, all the heavy metals that our factories are burning, all the pollutants. I mean, you guys know the story. It's crazy when we look out there and we see what industry is doing in the name of profit. Seems like they've almost poisoned everything, but they haven't. And so for water to bubble out of the earth, this naturally pure, is something that the geophysicist who came up to the spring, he was just scratching his head. He couldn't figure it out. He said, you just kept saying, he's like, you have no idea how rare it is that water emerges out of the ground that pure without any of these contaminants. He's like, it's so rare that something like that exists. And I was like, well, what is causing that to happen? He couldn't explain that. Are you a geologist? Are you a hydrogeologist? This is your thing? This is what you know? So there's been a lot of working theories, but at the end of the day, it's something that keeps coming back. And from my understanding, I'm not a scientist by any means, farthest thing from it, but a lot of the open-minded scientists that I talk to, people are beginning to acknowledge something now called primary water or magmatic water, which is water that is literally being created in the earth. And it sits under there in massive, they say there's more magmatic water in the earth than there is in the oceans of the world. Folks have been told that all the water that exists on the planet is all there is, and it just keeps recycling itself through the hydrocycle. Not the case. There's pure water, and it's coming up. It's bubbling to the earth's surface, and this is probably one of those sources. It's the best way they can explain it. But what's interesting about primary water is that anywhere in the world, this water is accessible. And like free energy, like Tesla and all the greats who were silenced before for wanting to expose the truths of what we have available to us to live in a sustainable society that is abundant, that the same time and evolving and growing. You know, we don't want to use nature. We would like to be able to use nature to be able to make a better representation of nature. We want to grow and evolve with nature to make everything better because we can. What are we? Are we a bunch of hairless apes running around thinking about ourselves? Or are we gods? Do we have this potential to self-reflect and get in touch with that? And most of us are probably a mix between a hairless ape and a god, but potential's there. Interestingly, this water is so naturally pure as it comes to the surface, and it doesn't have any inorganic minerals. Even though minerals are naturally occurring in water, most of them are referred to as inorganic minerals because they're not minerals that the human body can bioassimilate and break down. They're really dense. So if you take a bunch of nails and put it in water, you're not going to get iron if you try to drink that. That's why we eat plants and animals and other things that take those nutrients that are in the ground, they process them into a form that's going to be more bioavailable to our human form. But there are minerals that the human body does respond to favorably, which are electrolytes. For whatever reason, even though this water happens to bubble out of the ground in what's called a complex lithium granite pegmatite, which is a fancy way of saying it is a literally granite body that is loaded with mind-blowing crystals and gemstones to the tune of pockets the size of this room, with crystals bigger than you and than us, like flowing through the walls of the room. I've been in some of these pockets. This water is coming up through an area that is that rife with minerals, so many minerals, radioactive minerals, all kinds of crazy stuff. How is it not in this water? How can we be going through all this stuff, being charged by these great crystals, structured by them, and how can it not be in this water? Well, I think really it's very simple. It's Mother Nature, when she is left to her own devices, and when we have reverence and awe and respect for her, she will purify and process and provide her elements to us in a form that is best suited for us. And in this case, this is what happened. So this water is so pure, and it's got the perfect balance of the natural electrolytes, which literally recharge the body, that they let us bottle it without any treatment whatsoever. Which, to my knowledge, there's only one other company in this country that ever did that. And sadly, they no longer exist, but they were doing the same thing. They were theirs was a hot spring, which is very different from a cold spring, which is what this is. Hot springs are just loaded with these inorganic minerals that, some people like them. There's different opinions. For me personally, I found high mineral waters to be very difficult for my body to break down and digest. It's almost like they get stuck in the organs, and the organs act as a filtering device to try to get through it. I like my water to be light, living liquid light. So they let us put this water into these bottles without any processing whatsoever. So it is literally a living, structured water imbued with deep inner earth energies that are surrounded by these massive pockets full of gemstones. And I had this idea that I was going to make this water the #1 premium brand of bottled water in North America, because it's a model for something way greater. It isn't just bottled water. It's this idea of how to use business as a force for good. To use business as something that is less hierarchically run. So much hierarchy in business. If we're going to come together as a species, at some point the playing field's got to be level. So to create business structures that aren't necessarily based on hierarchy, but based on getting people together, taking less money, creating business structures where people are encouraged to bring their whole self to the job and develop those talents. And when they're respected for that and paid with a more equal form of payment, they're going to work way harder than the ones who are just getting minimum wage and are expected to show up for the grunt work. These people do not love their job or their life as much as they could anyway. So, in my newfound state, in my decision to take what I know to be the purest natural element that I am aware of on this planet, to represent it with my awareness and my life journey as I am now, I got this water into close to 600 stores in about a year with no money, no marketing budget, just literally my ability to communicate the authenticity of this product and why a product like this and a company like this is so important for today's day and age. And people have responded more than in favor. And I'll tell you what, it's tough doing business out there. The world seems to get more dog eat dog as you try to go inside of these traditional channels of business. But that's at more of a national level. Locally, things are very different. Locally, people are much more conscious. They're much more aware of how important it is to live in accordance with the land, to live in accordance to what you have, to contribute less to all the death, fire, pain, destruction, chaos, and disorder that is the result of petroleum production, of garbage production, of just using things mindlessly. So these small business entrepreneurs are going to be the ones that are going to create businesses that are going to make a true impact on our world. So Tourmaline Spring is the highest quality, most ethically produced bottled water in North America. That's what I say. Of course, people, you put it in plastic, it's not ethical. Then when I can begin to explain to them and help them see, like, okay, look, it's right, we do put in plastic bottles, but we started out with something called ENSO additive that when placed in an anaerobic environment, which is basically a landfill, it biodegrades in 3 years. You know, we tried with glass, but the cost was so expensive that it was not economically viable for us at that point. However, you gotta work within the systems in place, no matter how imperfect they may be, to begin to form a better way. And so now, already, step by step, we've gotten this up. We're gonna be making incredible transitions as investors come on. We're gonna be going to glass, we're gonna be going back to an ENSO for our plastic. We have so many things in alignment and as accessories to this company, and I've created a non-profit organization that is on standby, just waiting, that will go around the federal bottle bill that has been enacted on our planet. You know, here in the Northeast, some of the states have bottle bills. You can recycle bottles, but most states don't have that. I think that's stupid. I want to do something about it. So, there's one thing that I can leave you guys with tonight before you go, or before you ask questions or anything. I want you to really, really consider and contemplate the things I've said and what it means to you and come to terms with it. But what I really want you to do is to be aware of the water that is in your own bodies and to realize how significant that water in your very body is. Because I'm, at this point in my life, I am beyond convinced that it is one of the most major missing links that prevent people from living not just a healthy life. I mean, obviously we need to get our health back. I mean, it's crazy that health epidemics, everything going on are affecting so many of our loved ones. It's insane. We've got to get our health back. But water is a catalyst to connect us to these higher states of awareness and consciousness that I've been speaking about tonight, and to get us to live more fully and authentically in and as our whole self. Because we are all very fragmented. The way we live in this world, the things we do, we've been cut off and separated from our own inner truth. And water can literally get us back to that place. Because 70% of our body is made up of water. 80% of our brain, 90% of our blood, and almost 99% of our cell structure and the fluid that surrounds it is biowaters, highly structured biowaters. And the interesting thing about water, despite all the new age stuff, despite anything that anybody says about anything, because everybody's got a belief, an opinion, and a judgment, whatever, who cares? Who cares what everybody thinks? Take a bottle of water, whatever water it is, and hold it close to you and love it. Really appreciate it. Speak to it. Literally cast your intention that you are grateful that you have water to drink, especially knowing that so many in the world don't have clean water or hardly any water. And if you love